right now on ABC Action News.
There's no evidence that this is that.
Well, now you're interrupting me.
Your stories.
It's the first time I've ever taken a step like this.
I felt so tricked and so fooled.
It's like cat and mouse. She's here one minute, she's not the next.
Our team of journalists digging deep, confronting leaders.
So 5:15, so let's say 4 months from 5:15 is 9:15. That's September, it's now January.
Right.
Showing you the real impacts of our laws.
It just opens Pandora's box.
You charged me for a cell that I didn't occupy?
We're taking action for you.
It scares me, but it doesn't scare me away.
Thank you for being with us. I'm Kylie McGivern.
And I'm Adam Walzer. All year, our I-Team has been hard at work investigating your stories, taking action for you, and showing you some of the real-life struggles our neighbors have faced.
Throughout the past several months, investigator Katie Lagrone has taken action on stories about people being blindsided, learning they are not actually U.S. citizens.
In this story, she highlights a veteran who says he was recruited into the military under false promises, and the lawmakers now taking action for him.
Seems like every time we go back and try and deal with this, it's just another door closed.
Paul Canton was born in New Zealand and raised in Australia. In the early 1990s, he joined the U.S. Marines after he says a military recruiter lured him with the promise of U.S. citizenship when he got out.
I was told if I got an honorable discharge, then I would get citizenship at the end of my tour.
Automatically? And then what happened?
I got out, assumed I had citizenship, I voted, I did everything a citizen would do.
Nearly 3 decades later, during a trip to renew his Florida driver license, Canton discovered he wasn't here legally. His fight to become American has been a losing battle ever since.
Kind of shock.
According to federal immigration law, foreign veterans are eligible for citizenship if they served during a period of hostility. While Canton was recruited during the Persian Gulf War, a designated period of hostility, he wasn't called for active duty until after that period ended, making him ineligible for citizenship, according to U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, which has denied his application twice.
It just doesn't make any sense at all.
Canton's fight isn't unique. We found other foreign veterans who also say they were promised citizenship for enlistment, only to be left hanging and in some cases, even deported after service.
This is a veteran issue, it's not an immigration issue, because we were veterans when we got deported.
David Barrio served honorably in the U.S. Army and was active in the Air Force Reserves when he was detained and deported back home to Kenya. Military records he provided us show Barrio was among a group of African national students targeted by a U.S. military recruiter who was eventually found guilty of operating an illegal enlistment scheme.
My recruiter was fraudulently recruiting internationals to meet his quota, a recruiting quota.
Beru and Canton are among potentially thousands of foreign veterans across the nation who have been lured into America's armed forces through false promises of American citizenship when they get out. That's according to a recent report authored by law students at the University of California, Berkeley, titled Broken Promises. In it, they write many immigrant service members complete their military service without becoming citizens, no matter how laudable their service was. This leaves them vulnerable to the whims of the immigration system.
Katie, your reporting is very eye-opening and it is very troubling.
Following Scripps News Tampa's series of reports, Florida U.S. Congresswoman Kathy Castor now vowing to help foreign veterans who serve honorably get the U.S. citizenship they fought for.
It is incumbent upon the Department of Defense, if they are going to recruit non-citizens with the promise that you're going to obtain U.S. citizenship, that they follow through and they not break that promise. That's the least we can do.
14 years after he was deported, David Barrio was allowed to return to America in 2022 through a new government program created to help deported U.S. veterans get the benefits they were promised. A few months later, he finally became a legal U.S. citizen.
It was overdue.
I kind of feel like I'm under house arrest. I can't go anywhere, do anything.
Veteran Paul Canton, who's considered stateless after losing his Australian citizenship once he joined America's military 30 years ago, is still living in Florida and fighting for his legal right to stay.
Why are you fighting this so hard?
I've got nowhere else to go.
For years, we have shared stories from you where you have paid contractors for work that they never finished.
But still to come, one of those contractors agreed to sit down with me after several homeowners reached out to us. And wait until you see our conversation. 4 months from 5/15 is 9/15. That's September. It's now January.
Right?
Okay.
Now you're going to learn about more delays in construction.
Delays, failed inspections, and unfinished work. That is what a homeowner tells us he experienced.
So he called us and I got to work uncovering his general contractor's license had a history of similar complaints and is currently under investigation by the Pinellas County Construction Licensing Board.
So this was supposed to be my man cave.
This is where Moses Harmon hopes to spend his free time.
On the right side of the room, I was going to pretty much have most of my workout equipment. On the left side of the room, I was going to have my pool table.
He saved for years from his small landscaping business so he could pay cash.
It's the first time I've ever taken a step like this.
How much money did you pay this contractor?
So far, I'm out of about $45,000.
What was the project supposed to cost?
A little bit better than $50,000.
The contractor is GLK Construction, owned by Jeremiah Klotz.
I signed my contract in October of 2022.
The project was estimated to take 8 to 12 weeks, but all work stopped after a failed building inspection in October. Did the construction company say they're going to come fix it?
Yeah, they've been telling me they're going to come fix it for months and months.
Moses is among 10 GLK customers we interviewed with similar complaints.
There's a bathroom, and there's going to be an open kitchen, and then an open bedroom/living room.
Warren Bucknam has paid GLK $40,000 on a $70,000 studio apartment project.
So I found out a couple weeks ago that the permit was actually never approved.
The city halted the project, saying construction began on the permit prior to permit approval.
So those could potentially have to be ripped out and totally redone.
A stop work order appeared on Darren Kuntz's project in mid-January.
I asked him what's going on, and it took him a couple of days just to even answer me.
GLK failed to get a roof inspection.
This is for my mother-in-law. She is trying to stay out of the nursing home.
Darren's contract, signed in February, estimated completion within 12 to 16 weeks. Those are not the only customers complaining. The Better Business Bureau gives GLK Construction an F.
Framing was approved.
And Michelle Krikovich, director of the Pinellas County Construction and Licensing Board, says her agency is investigating 6 complaints, which she describes as a large number for a small contractor.
The one constant that we have found with this particular contractor as well is that they're starting work without a permit.
Klotz was already fined $552.95 by the Pinellas County Contracting Board last August for conducting demo work at this Seminole home without a permit. We called GLK Construction owner Jeremiah Klotz, and he agreed to an interview.
There's delays that happens in construction.
Right. And that seems to be happening a lot.
Not really.
In a 2-hour interview, Klotz blamed delays on Christmas, a hurricane, slow government permitting, customer changes, and his subcontractors.
But then they'll go missing. One day here, gone another 6 weeks.
Klotz defends his work at Darren Kuntz's house.
Permit got approved 5/15.
So 5/15, so let's say 4 months from 5/15 is 9/15. That's September, it's now January. Okay.
Now you're going to learn about more delays in construction.
Klotz rattled off the days he says his records show he had workers on site.
We've been out there consistently working this project nonstop.
The records he quoted shows crews there 12 out of 141 days, about 1 day in every 12. As for the demo work Klotz was fined for,
Because we tried to appease the client, we tried to make them happy.
A lot of contractors will convince homeowners, well, let me just start. And, while we're waiting for the permit.
customers' contracts we saw included 30% deposits.
I would never engage a contractor who asks for that amount of money up front.
What's a reasonable amount?
A good starting point would be 10%.
Customers told us Klotz often asked for payments ahead of schedule.
It's too much to try to keep all the subcontractors paid, to keep materials flowing and everything, because we're like fronting money the client hasn't even paid yet.
Isn't that part of what this business is all about?
Yeah, but you have to try to lower your risks.
A well-financed contractor with a long, successful track record is really not going to ask you to finance his materials or his labor costs.
Moses Harmon has paid for 90% of his project, including for insulation and drywall that hasn't been installed.
But he's paid you for that, right?
Yeah, but it's one payment and it covers this.
But it's supposed to come at the end of that phase of the project,
no, it says
right?
will be due following the completion.
That
of
means at the
electrical-
end. Following the completion means after it's done, in most people's definition.
Well, no, it's not.
We called Moses from Klotz's office.
Hey, Mr. Walzer. Hey, Moses, I'm sitting here with Jeremiah Klotz, and he's telling me he's got all the supplies for your project.
This was supposed to be an 8 to 12 week project. It's been 15 months, and we're Mr. Walzer not sitting in your office.
I'm in here. Yeah, we got it on the record right now.
Yeah, I don't believe you'd be doing this.
But Moses agreed to give Klotz one more chance.
So like if you give me the green light today, I could be out there Monday, latest Tuesday.
I'll give you Monday.
Okay, let's do Monday.
Klotz estimates it will take 5 more weeks.
Construction's a tough business.
Yeah.
I might want to be like a reporter like you after this. You seem...
My job's a lot easier.
Seems like it.
A My Team investigator Adam Walser with photojournalist Matt McGlashan taking action for you. After our broadcast, Jeremiah Klotz eventually made good on his promise to have Moses Harmon's man cave completed.
Still to come, a mother's plea for mercy. A Tampa woman reached out to me after her son with special needs violently attacked a teacher's aide. Her plea to the judge as he faced what could be a decades-long prison sentence.
Because I knew Brendan and I knew his triggers and I knew his needs and his strengths. I beg you to let him come home with me. I want my son back.
This year, we closely followed a case involving a student with autism from Tampa who attacked a teacher's aide. Video of the attack went viral as you saw it all play out.
Brendan Deppa's mom reached out to us saying that prison is not the place for her special needs son. And while his family wasn't arguing there shouldn't be consequences, there was a larger debate about what the proper punishment should be. We now know the judge's decision, and we do want to warn you, the video you're about to see may be disturbing.
The video went viral. A camera inside Flagler County's Matanzas High School capturing the moment 17-year-old Brendan Deppa attacked a teacher's aide, knocking her unconscious, kicking and punching her before others rushed in to help. The trigger, talk of taking away his Nintendo Switch. The victim says she suffered 5 broken ribs, a concussion, hearing and vision loss, and was diagnosed with PTSD.
My life will never be what it was before.
That teacher's aide, Joan Nadich, spoke at the sentencing hearing.
I think that Brendan should pay for what he did. There are consequences in life to bad actions, bad choices. He made the choice that day to come after me.
But what should those consequences be? Deppa's mother, who adopted him as an infant and raised him in Tampa, pleaded on behalf of her special needs son, who has autism and was living in a group home at the time of the attack. Documents show Deppa was also diagnosed with sensory disorder, behavior impulse control disorder, mood disorder, and ADHD.
Brendan has, he's had a hard life. He started out as a foster care baby who struggled. I beg you to let him come home with me. I want my son back.
Deppa's defense pushed for juvenile sanctions, which would end when he turned 21.
He's 18 years old, Judge. He was 17 when this happened. He is disabled.
What would have happened had Mr. Deppa not been pulled off her? I don't want to even imagine in that regard.
Ultimately, the judge did not feel juvenile sanctions were sufficient.
The court sentences Mr. Deppa to 60 months of Department of Corrections, followed by 15 years Department of Corrections supervised probation. Once Mr. Deppa is stabilized, the court would consider home health care options, similar to the types that I've heard here today. But stability, safety, routine will be the earmarks of the court sentence in this case.
60 months. That's 5 years. But Depa was facing up to 30 years in prison for these charges. Despite that, when I spoke with his mother, she told me she's disappointed in the sentence. He will be on probation for 15 years. Florida has a new law cracking down on squatters.
But a local homeowner showed us that it's not as easy getting rid of them as it seems.
It's like cat and mouse. She's here one minute, she's not the next.
A new law is in effect to stop squatters in their tracks. But how strong is it?
ABC Action News reporter Michael Paluska found out firsthand when he followed a homeowner inside her property.
Weeks ago, we were actually inside a house for a story we were working on in St. Pete about zombie house flippers. When we were there was no running water, no electricity. It was bug infested. The floors were rotting. The pool was basically a pond. But out of nowhere, the homeowner tells us a family showed up with a lease saying they paid a deposit and that they were legally inside the house. Well, that homeowner said that wasn't true. And so we were with her to see the process of how she got them removed.
The guy that mows the lawn on this property. You're in.
Getting in wasn't graceful, and this isn't how property investor Alex Jandick or homeowner Brenda Wilkinson wanted this to go down.
Anybody inside?
Breaking into her own home.
Well, look at that. It's like cat and mouse. She's here one minute, she's not the next.
They reached out to the proper channels.
Let me call St. Pete non-emergency police.
But Jandick tells us sometimes it is not enough.
You had somebody renting this house?
No.
We did not. How did this person get into this house?
They broke in.
It looks vacant.
Is there any way, or what would we need to do to have this not be a civil matter and just have them arrested? Because that's the quick solution.
This was the second time St. Petersburg police came out to this home. It has been vacant for years, and it's close to finally getting sold to the bank. It has no electricity, running water, it's bug infested, the floors are rotting, but a family moved in.
We'd have to do a lot more research on this.
Got it.
Sounds like there's a lot of moving parts to it. Like you said, over the past year and all that stuff, we're not going to fix this in a 2-minute.
Understood.
Jandick says he was shown a fake lease and a forged signature of the homeowner's son-in-law.
Here's his wet signature that I had him send me last night. So if we put those two side by side there, again, I'm no handwriting expert, but damn. It's like, at least if you're going to do a fake lease, do it well.
St. Pete PD just left. They couldn't do anything, but we're with the homeowner. She's coming through to check the house. The family came with lots of items, a generator because there is no power, cabinets because the kitchen is a disaster area, and boxes of random stuff. Hello? At this point, the home was empty. Wilkinson telling me she never posted it for rent.
I haven't been in this house since '08.
What was it like coming in today to look for a squatter?
Terrible. You know, I working with Alex and trying to get a deal going here, and I don't need anybody in here.
Wilkinson drew this mural for her daughter, who was 13 at the time when they lived here, a faded memory before life and family issues turned this once home into a shell of the past. What do you say to these folks about what they're doing to you?
Well, I told her I was going to call the cops, and I wanted to see the proof she had, so I copied them and I sent them to Alex.
You met with her face to face,
Yes.
right?
I'm just here to get my stuff.
This was their third meeting, Jandick recording the encounter.
And I think we're gonna try to get the generator, and I don't think we have much more than that in there.
Okay.
So, okay, that's what we're gonna do.
Fair enough.
Okay,
Thank you for being fair and reasonable. I appreciate that.
St. Pete police cited 2 people staying at the home with trespassing. We are blurring their faces because they were not arrested. One of the supposed renters cited by St. Pete police for trespassing left her number on a sign, and she agreed to let us record our phone call. What happened?
I was renting out a property, and then the people came and said that I wasn't supposed to be there, called the police on me, and we had to leave.
Very few details were provided. How did you find the house? How did you find this guy?
Facebook.
Do you have that post that you could send to us?
I don't even know if it's still up.
Do you know who rented the property out to you? Do you know that person's name?
What was his name?
Do you have that lease agreement still?
Somewhere in my paperwork, I don't know where right now.
In some situations, they are very, very highly sophisticated.
Attorney Sean Lopez told me this new law will give homeowners more power to remove people who are potentially squatting.
So unlike before, there's actual criminal penalties now that would actually help the landlords in this situation.
There weren't before.
Not really. I mean, before it was really just a civil issue.
Last night there was someone inside, and the police were here last night.
Sometimes lawyers have to get involved.
I know exactly how these cases go because we've done so many of them.
How long they last sometimes if it's worst case scenario?
6 to 8 months.
But it didn't come to that. The family asked to be let back into the home, got their stuff, and left peacefully. In St. Petersburg with photojournalist Reed Moeller, Michael Paluska, ABC Action News.
The power of a homeowners association. A new Florida law appears to prevent HOAs from citing homeowners for parking violations.
But after the break, is the law clear enough to really do anything?
It just opens Pandora's box. The community really loses all control and ability to manage themselves.
Our I-Team is dedicated to listening to your voice and taking action for you. This year, we told you about the new state law preventing homeowners associations from banning pickup trucks and work trucks from parking in driveways. It took effect July 1st.
But since then, Sarasota homeowners reached out to me, saying their HOA does not plan to change. So I looked into why this association is still enforcing parking rules despite the new law. Ryan McIntyre, who goes by Mac, loves his 2014 Chevy Silverado pickup.
It's functional, hauling things most of all. Also is the extended cab because I do have a wife and daughter.
But his truck doesn't easily fit into his garage, and
I cannot park my own truck in my own driveway.
His subdivision, The Meadows, doesn't allow pickup trucks or commercial vehicles in their driveways between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. based on rules written in 1976, before Jimmy Carter first took office. Violators caught by the association's nightly safety patrol face warning letters, fines, and can be towed out of their own driveways. Mack agreed to the rules when he moved into the neighborhood in 2019. But hoped a new law would change that.
You can imagine how ecstatic I was when I heard that I could park it in my own house.
Mack and his wife now make twice daily trips to drop off and pick up his truck at a fenced-in lot our odometer shows is 0.8 of a mile from his home. He and his neighbors pay $500 per vehicle per year to park there.
We all know each other. We see each other every night and every morning.
If you come back at night, it's full. Everybody's paying to park in here.
Melissa Syatt lives on the opposite side of the 1,600-acre neighborhood.
The schlepping, the back and forth, it's hot, it's a lot.
She runs a mobile aesthetics business out of a $200,000 custom Mercedes van.
I've got my own power, water, everything.
Her husband also parks a pickup in the lot. Melissa welcomed the new law, which says, quote, homeowners association documents, including declarations of covenants, articles of incorporation, or bylaws, may not preclude a property owner or a tenant, a guest, or an invitee from parking his or her personal vehicle, including a pickup truck, in the property owner's driveway.
I thought it was for everybody. We got so excited about it when it, got signed, and we thought, great, this is going to save us $1,000 a year. And yeah. That's not happening.
Meadows residents got this email days before the law went into effect saying, quote, all current parking rules and regulations will remain the same.
They got ahead of it and said, no, we're going to keep everything the same way. So we're ended up with more questions than answers at this point.
They've also sent out reminders after the law went into effect. The general manager for the Meadows Community Association declined an on-camera interview, but said in an email that the application of the new law depends on the governing language of the community association and the time it was recorded. The email referred to something called Kaufman language.
Some restrictions have what's known as Kaufman language, which was sort of a famous case.
Attorney John Ellis says some HOAs incorporate the language as amended from time to time in their bylaws and other documents.
That's indicating if the legislature changes the statute, that would apply. Most homeowners associations don't have that language,
including the Meadows. Both Mac and Melissa plan to abide by the existing rules.
We don't feel like we have a voice, so we don't know really what to do.
But they hope someone will challenge them.
It got the governor to sign it into law. So I cannot be the only one with this concern.
I'm I-Team investigator Adam Walser with photojournalist Matt McGlashan, taking action for you. After that story, we got so many comments, we ran a follow-up piece explaining exactly when and how Kaufman language can be applied. You can find it on the ABC Action News YouTube page, where so far, it has more than 1.8 million views. What goes on in Tallahassee can feel like it's clouded in smoke 100 miles away and backdoor deals.
We are following everyday, hardworking people like you as they try to enact change in Florida. And up next, the moment one lawmaker does not want you to see.
Let me make my points.
I understand.
Who's the physician here?
No, certainly.
Sabrina, you like my help?
No, certainly, and I'm
Tell
not.
her to be respectful.
This year, our cameras captured what really happens behind the scenes in Tallahassee.
I-Team investigator Katie Lagrone was working on a story about the hard work everyday citizens need to do in order to try and enact change. But what she saw was something one lawmaker doesn't want you to see.
I've been waiting for this day a really long time. Let's grab 1, 2, 3, and today we are loading up and heading to Tallahassee. My dad was a Navy veteran, died of medical negligence, and he went to a hospital for knee pain. 5 days later, my dad was dead. And I was unable to have access to the civil courts because Florida's Wrongful Death Act, also known as the Free Kill Law.
Well, my son Jojo passed away in 2019 after being refused emergency care. It was an egregious act for which no one is held accountable.
Every single legislator will get a rose. I have a lot of hopes for this session.
Here we go. All right.
All right, we're doing it.
It's just before 9 a.m., one day before the start of Florida's 2024 legislative session.
Yes. Love you, Dad.
Sabrina Davis and Marcia Shepler have taken off from work.
Wow, this is the day.
But not off the clock.
How many appointments do we have today? A lot. Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Thank you for setting this up.
This is a glimpse into their years-long hustle to get heard in Tallahassee.
I would be honored if you feel compelled to co-sponsor House Bill 129. That's the one for a full repeal.
In a city where lobbyists and special interests often call the shots.
This is a law that is pretty much in the books because of insurance companies and because of very large special interests.
I would love for you to take some information.
They're just average citizens.
He cares about the people that you have lost.
Hoping the power of their stories will be enough to change a state law.
It's emotional, it's draining, it's exhausting.
In this case, it's Florida's 34-year-old Wrongful Death Act, what critics call Florida's Free Kill Law. It essentially says if a doctor's mistake kills an unmarried adult, families can't sue for pain and suffering.
What this doctor took from my son and I was a big part of our life. And I want to face him in court.
For two women never involved in politics, they've become pretty good at playing the game.
You want to make them remember you. You want to stand out. You want them to hear your voice and not forget you.
My focus has always been for the people who never have any chance.
We can fix this.
But in this rarely seen process of how influence is made, peddled, and used to get things done, our cameras captured just how fragile lawmakers' support can be.
God bless you. We're going to see if we can't do right by you.
Thank you.
The same lawmaker pledging his support became agitated when we started asking questions.
I think, like you say, there's factions on both sides, right? On the one side, you have the trial attorneys who we certainly don't want this to be a windfall. We certainly don't want there to be a glut of frivolous lawsuits. So I think on the one hand,
there's no evidence that this is that. This
well, now you're interrupting me. So
okay.
Do you want to ask me the questions, or would you like me to ask you the questions?
I mean, I'm just saying that has sort of already been.
Let's cut that. Let's cut that. We're getting that out.
No,
you're going to let me finish, or we'll throw this out.
Start
over.
I respect that.
No. I was making 2 points.
Okay.
Let me make my points.
I understand.
Who's the physician here?
No, certainly.
Sabrina, you like my help?
No, certainly, and I'm
Tell her to be respectful.
Let the Senate be received.
This session, 5 separate bills were introduced to repeal all or a portion of Florida's so-called free kill law, the most since advocates started asking lawmakers to quash it more than a decade ago.
I put before the committee today a repeal of 768-21-8.
One bill, named the Keith Davis Family Protection Act after Sabrina's father, got so far as one Senate hearing before big business and special interests weighed in, and the bill died. William Large is a longtime Tallahassee lobbyist who represents several of those special interest groups.
As long as guys like you are around, respectfully, how does the average person get heard?
I think they've been heard loud and clear. I think it's an even playing field for everybody.
You think it's an equal playing field?
Absolutely.
Do they have an unfair advantage than the average citizen?
Fair question. Depending on which member you ask, you might get a different answer. It doesn't matter to me what some of the external paid hired folks are that are saying things. This law to me is unjust. I want it off the books.
But for now,
hugely disappointed.
It stays.
I'm hurt. I tried. I fought with everything I had.
He still held to this law,
leaving these average citizens continuing a fight they knew would take time, but never imagined would be so hard to win.
I won't give up, but it's an exhausting fight.
And despite this session's ending, Senator Yarborough tells me he plans to reintroduce similar legislation on the topic again next session. In Tallahassee, with photojournalist Matthew Apthorpe, I'm I-Team investigator Katie Lagrone taking action for you.
They were sentenced to prison, but this year I learned about a Florida law where people incarcerated can be charged tens of thousands of dollars even if they are released early.
You charged me for a cell that I didn't occupy? I felt so tricked and so fooled.
We've all heard the saying, you do the crime, you do the time.
But when people are released from prison in Florida, it marks the start of new hardships impacting families and communities. This year I dug into a state law many don't know about, Florida's pay-to-stay law.
I work 12-hour shifts, so they're 7 to 7.
Hoffman is part of TGH Crystal River's clinical staff.
The healthcare field has always been, of great interest to me.
She's worked to get to where she's at, but once more, she's on track to earn her bachelor's degree this year.
My desirable goal is to work in case management. As somebody who is in recovery, doing case management is my way of being a part of the solution. And now, where I'm at today, I am truly being stopped by one single barrier, and it is a dollar sign.
The state of Florida had what is called an exemption from disqualification, and they told me that you are not eligible because you owe over $127,000 for an incarceration fee from the state of Florida.
What was your reaction?
I cried. I was hysterically crying. I literally felt like my entire past just punched me in the face. When I was 13, my parents split up, so it caused a lot of dysfunction, a lot of misdirection in the household. So I found a boyfriend that unfortunately got me hooked on opiates, snorting them, smoking them, and then eventually, I started shooting them.
And this was all while you were a teenager?
Yes.
After turning 18, Hoffman was charged with a third-degree felony.
I had pawned something that, was stolen.
Then a burglary charge.
Both of those charges are drug-influenced. Ever since, 10 years ago, I've never caught another charge. I told him, I said, listen, Your Honor, you keep putting me on the streets, I'm going to die. I need help.
Hoffman was sentenced to the Phoenix house for a year, but did not complete the program.
The director kicked me out.
Because of that, the judge sentenced Hoffman to 7 years in prison. She served 10 months, the judge allowing her to participate in a youth offender boot camp.
I had paid everything off. I petitioned the courts to get off of probation. He clapped for me and said, you above anybody deserve this. Congratulations, Ms. Hoffman. I've taken pictures with him, given him a hug, and he wrote me a handwritten Christmas card telling me he knew I could do it. I finally felt like, the book was closed. Your redemption is complete.
Within 3 years, when applying for that exemption to work in case management, her dream job, Hoffman found out that she, like thousands of others, still owes the state $50 a day for the 7 years of her original sentence, $127,750.
You charged me for a cell that I didn't occupy? I felt so tricked and so fooled. There is no ladder with them that will ever truly allow you to be a second chance anything. There isn't. And they make sure of it.
Hoffman's grandmother, Linda, helped pay off what she said was thousands of dollars in other fines and fees.
We thought everything was taken care of. I must not understand it right. I've probably got this wrong, but no, I didn't.
Hoffman hired an attorney in an attempt to modify her incarceration costs to the 10 months she served. The judge denied the motion, pointing to state law. A court may not modify a legal sentence imposed by it more than 60 days after the imposition, and incarceration costs are based upon the length of the sentence imposed by the court at the time of sentencing.
You are imposing something that I can't pay off in a lifetime. So I'm stuck.
How is this possible?
We think it's unconstitutional.
Lisa Foster, co-executive director of the Fines and Fees Justice Center based in Washington, D.C.,
Florida charges a lot of fines and fees,
says it violates the excessive fines clause.
Because it's not proportionate either to the underlying offense or to a person's financial circumstances. In Shelby's case, what happens is she's saddled with over $120,000 of debt to the state of Florida that is a life sentence.
I have a family now. I have a daughter, a wonderful husband. I have a home. I have all of these accomplishments that I have worked so hard to maintain. And to not be given the opportunity to have a realistic, reasonable, obtainable goal to rectify all of that, that is why this is important.
We've heard from other former inmates in Citrus County struggling to support their families and discovered the law is being applied very differently across the state. We also found the Department of Corrections is selective with who they choose to collect these funds from, with some judges calling it retaliatory. State Senator Jason Pizzo tells us changes are needed, and he plans to look into this law next session.
Florida school districts started the year with thousands of teacher vacancies.
But still to come, we reveal teacher exit interviews and share why so many leave after years on the job.
I'm afraid things have only gotten worse since the pandemic.
At the start of this school year, there were about 5,000 vacancies across the state.
I-Team investigator Katie Lagrone obtained the most recent batch of teacher exit surveys detailing why teachers choose to leave in their own words.
Teachers opting out of Florida classrooms over the past few years has been chalked up to pay, politics, and an overall lack of support. But new exit interviews from more than a half dozen Florida school districts this summer suggest there may be a shift in what's now driving teachers away.
I can't teach to the test anymore.
An ex-teacher in Palm Beach County added.
Parents delegate everything,
Remarked a former Pasco County teacher.
I feel value as a person, but not as an educator,
Said a former teacher in Hillsborough County. These first-hand sentiments, which we obtained through a public record request months after we started sharing teacher exit interviews, provide the most detailed understanding behind why teachers choose to leave. During the 2022-23 school year, we found more than 18,000 Florida teachers left their districts, representing nearly 10% of the state's publicly employed teachers at the time. More recent data has yet to be released, but according to these exit interviews, moving or relocating was listed as the top reason teachers separated from districts across Tampa Bay, Collier County, and Palm Beach County, while money came in a distant second or even third behind retirement. Since 2019, Florida has invested more than $4.6 billion in teacher pay, according to Florida's Department of Education. But while starting teacher salaries in Florida now rank 16th in the nation, the average teacher salary in the Sunshine State ranks a gloomy 50th, leaving some of these teachers venting about it on their way out.
Florida ranks 50th in the nation in teacher pay. Need I say more?
A former high school teacher in Palm Beach County stated.
Shameful.
Described a Hillsborough County educator who also resigned.
How can you ask people to work so hard and pay them so little?
But also prompting teachers to go, these surveys show.
Testing. More testing.
And what some describe as extreme student behaviors. with one responding like this after an altercation with 5 high school boys.
After 25 years in education, I can say that I have never encountered such verbal aggression from a group, and I am not willing to be subject to abusive behavior.
The teacher ultimately resigned.
When you hear those sentiments from a teacher, does that scare you away, Courtney?
It scares me, but it doesn't scare me away.
USF students Courtney Bennett and Luke Vicio-Duffy are education majors with sights set on teaching.
Florida ranks 50th in the nation in teacher pay.
We shared with them some of the comments these teachers left behind.
It gives me pause. It takes me a second to reflect on, is this the right decision for me? But when I look deep down, I'm like, it does not matter. This is what I want to do.
They know they're entering a challenging field at perhaps one of the most challenging times.
One of our textbooks is called Being an Effective Teacher in Challenging Times. Everybody understands that this is a very hard time to be an educator.
And while the words of teachers who left may be tough to hear,
I'm afraid things have only gotten worse since the pandemic.
This is a sad career to be in.
They're among the up-and-comers hoping to help the profession turn the page.
I also want to say for the teachers that are leaving for various reasons, the future of education is in good hands.
I'm I-Team investigator Katie Lagrone, taking action for you.
If you have a story you want investigated, send us an email at iteam@abcactionnews.com.
Or call us directly at 813-354-2837. For all of us here on the I-Team, I'm Kylie McGivern.
And I'm Adam Walser. Thank you for joining us.